Before this video starts, I want to point out that according to the number of people watching my videos, a lot of y'all aren't subscribed, and I don't mention it in my videos nearly enough, so please subscribe and turn on post notifications. It's fast, helps out both me and the channel, and the best part is it's absolutely free. Depending on what you do, some of the wildest stories you'll ever have as a person will be work stories. One time, my coworker Rose and I had this huge wedding job to do. We had to design the catering, branding, order of events flyers, the wedding menu, but the most difficult of all of this was the wedding invitation. Not designing it, that was the easy part. But this was a huge wedding with nearly 1,500 expected guests, and it was strictly by invitation. What this meant was that we had to assign each and every one of those 1,500 invitations to a particular person on the guest list, fit the invite into these awfully tiny envelopes that I'd never understand why they just couldn't be bigger, without squeezing them, and tie this stupid ribbon around the envelope. This was hard enough on its own, but the bride was so insistent on everything being perfect that we do like 200 of these in a day, and she'd come over later in the evening to say she didn't like 150 of them, and we'd have to do them all over again. So we're on it one morning when Ted comes in and he goes,
"Oh, you're still doing this? The wedding's off."
What?
Well, apparently a friend of the bride told her that the fiancé had another wife and kids somewhere, and so she called off the wedding. Which was kind of sad, but if it meant we were free from that horrid job, we really didn't mind. That night at 11:30, Rose called me. Oh, what is it now?
Hey, Ted says we have to be at work early tomorrow morning to finish up the invites. The wedding's back on.
I never thought a wedding of all things would bring me this much sadness. We get to the office and the wedding's off.
Well, apparently, the bride's friend who told her about that stuff was lying, so when the groom proved his innocence, the wedding was back on. That was when I called Rose to call you last night. And then this morning, the groom found out that the bride had a kid with someone else and she didn't tell him, so he called off the wedding.
And as stressful as all of this had been, it was hard not to find it even a little entertaining. The thing about Africans, or this might just be black people entirely, is the fact that they respect knowledge, any form of knowledge. And so you can imagine how elated this elderly woman was when she came into the office one morning to see that the employees were just a bunch of teenagers. She kept glancing over and smiling at Rose and I as we did our work, and flattering as it was kind of creepy. Finally, before she left, she says to Ted, "I have a grandson and all he does is sit at home and play video games all day. Would you mind if he came over here to learn a thing or two about graphics design?"
Well, this isn't exactly a school, so
"I'll pay you."
But he can still learn here?
Both Rose and I weren't exactly happy with the development because we knew that Ted wasn't going to teach that kid shit. He was just going to push it onto us. And with the workload we already had, and without extra pay. Just add teaching to the job description. That's perfectly fine. And when the woman came with him the next day, it was obvious she'd left out one very important detail. Her grandson was 7 years old. This woman wanted us to teach the entire Corel and Adobe suite to someone with the same attention span as the office printer. And of course, this didn't go very well. The kid could never sit still. He was noisy, obnoxious, destructive. He never did as he was told, and it was obvious his grandma just wanted to get him out of the house by bringing him here, and after 2 weeks of the same stressful thing, he stopped coming altogether. Normally, we'd be concerned about it, maybe if it were anyone else, but we were relieved that we didn't have to babysit him anymore. And about a month later, his grandma came back to the office to get some work done. Then she looks around and she asks me, "Where's Timothy?" "Who?"
A grandson.
"Oh, he hasn't been here in almost a month." "What?" "He's been collecting money for transport and lunch from me for the past 4 weeks. The lady came back a week later and we asked her what happened. Apparently, since she didn't let him play video games at home, he'd been collecting money from her, and instead of coming to the office, he'd go to an arcade close by and spend hours playing all the games there. The employees at the place wondered who this kid was and why he was here every day for hours, but he was a paying customer, so they figured he had a guardian close by, and plus, he was helping your business, so they didn't really mind. His grandma sent him back to his parents after the whole incident because according to her, if she had let him stay there any longer, she'd have probably killed him herself. A whole bunch of other weird stuff happened at my job, but this one I'm about to tell you was just plainly one of the funniest. I remember one time this guy came in wanting to make a business card for his business, and his business was selling performance enhancers. He gave the details of what he wanted on the card and said he'd be back for it the next day. I had a lot on my hands, so Rose took the job. She designed the cards, and it wasn't until we were printing them out the next morning that I realized it had a horrible mistake. You see, Rose and I had been making, a very specific type of joke all week long. I still can't believe this guy managed to get 5 tennis balls stuck in his ass. I can't believe it took surgery to help him get them out.
Those balls must have been really deep. So you mean you turned that down?
Yup.
After she invited you over and dressed up for you?
In my defense, I had no idea she was doing all that. She was a good cook. I thought we were just gonna chill and have something to eat.
Guess you were worried about the wrong meat.
I should have probably made it clear before going to her house. I basically just kept her hopes up. Guess that was a dick move. This part won't fit.
I don't know, I think it should fit if you hit it a little.
Really? Wow, didn't realize that. I've been hitting it for the past 2 hours now.
Did you hit it from the back though?
And I guess she probably got carried away because what was supposed to be on the card was not what was on the card. We had no time to fix it, so we planned to tell the guy that we needed more time when he came over. But he absolutely loved it, and he even gave us a huge tip for the work. And with everything else he initially wanted on the card, I can totally see why. What is this? NSFW. Don't open that!
Look, emotional running wild, I've been trying to fight it, yeah.